Which ones these are coming from?
And we are live, folks. Hi, welcome. It is now EU March Madness. Folks, I am so happy to be here, even though I won't be here for very long. However, my co host, my ever loving, adorable little co host, he is the master of all that is Beanie Babies. I mean, Star Wars. It is Dylan. Dylan, welcome back.
Thanks for having me back.
And we have the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Brian Borg. Brian, welcome.
Thank you. I'm ready for the madness to descend on us once more.
So, what is the big announcement here? Well, our upcoming tournament, as everyone knows, it starts in March, goes out through the whole month, and this year's title, this year's focus is what will we be voting on, Brian?
We are covering the Expanded Universe video games this year.
Video games. This is going to be a big one. There's a lot of people who are going to be very happy to see and vote for their favorite video games. I myself am so happy that Connect Star Wars is on there. I don't really play that many video games, but you know what? It doesn't matter. That's going to be fine because everyone else does, and everyone else is going to love this. This is a great idea for a tournament. Dylan, what do you expect the excitement for this tournament to be?
Well, I think there's some excitement in just what makes the tournament because I have a good authority that the special secret committee that is still putting together the tournament bracket as we speak had 75 different video games up for being potential to make this tournament. But as you all know, a March Madness bracket is only 64. So there are 11 video games that might just miss the cut. So it's going to be interesting to see what doesn't make the cut. One that I really hope gets in is Star Wars Battle Above Coruscant, the 2005 video game that was exclusive to the Motorola Razr. I think that's a good contender. I think it'll just sneak in, but we'll just have to see.
Yeah, we will just have to see. There's obviously a lot of favorites people will be looking forward to in this tournament here. We are about to seed this tournament, and then, of course, you folks will get your own bracket on theexpandeduniverse.com on Tuesday. So you don't want to miss that out. I should also mention that this year's tournament is sponsored by the one, the only, the Twin Sons Foundation. They do a lot of good work there, folks, donating books, giving them to those kids, hospitals, schools, wherever kids need them. We are there to give them good legends, novels, good reading, respectable reading. Dylan, you're so adorable. I could lick your face and put it on a stamp. All right, so who's going first? Are we getting our feet in? Let's seed this. Who are our numbers? We're going backwards again. We're going from 16 to number 1. So do we have our first 16 seed?
We do, in fact, have our first 16 seeds. Actually, a little bit of a confusing one right off the bat. Let's go to the.
Go into the bracket here.
What we got? First off, our first 16 seed for the core worlds is Star Wars Rebellion, now, which went by the name of Star Wars Supremacy in the UK. So it's a bit of a weird one because it technically does have two names, but it's the same video game. If you were in the UK, it was called Star Wars Supremacy. If you weren't, if you were outside, it was Rebellion. Came out in 1998. There, we also have another one from 1988. Droids is our other 16 seed in the mid rim, and then we've got This might be a spicy one already. Galaxy's Trials of Obi-Wan from 2005, 16 seed in the inner rim, and then Clone Wars Adventures from 2010, our 16 seed in the outer rim.
Interesting. As a lot of people know, Clone Wars Adventures is based off Jenny Tartovsky's Clone Wars. Is that correct, Dylan?
I'm not as familiar with that one.
Me neither. Let's go to the 1988 Droids. That must be based off the cartoon, correct?
That sounds right to me. It's another game I haven't really played, but I believe that one was based on. Was it on PC? I'd have to look into it. Again, I think it was being our 16 CZ. Was it Atari? That's old enough that it might have been Atari. Although our other 16 seeds Rebellion, I know, was on PC. There was one that I had looked forward to playing for a while, but never got around to it. Then the interesting entry being Galaxies having sounds like an expansion as an entry. Very interesting. The committee decided to include expansions separate from what I would assume the main games to be.
Yeah, I guess their intent is that you vote on the tournament based on what came out for that game. So they are treating the expansions as their own game and see if people like the content that was added in those expansions over the content that was in the main game.
Interesting.
Yeah, for myself, out of these 4 Cs we've just announced, obviously a clear favorite for me would be the droids. Now you got to have 1988 represent there. Is that the oldest? I wonder if that will be the oldest game entry by the
It's
date.
got to be. I think mid
Yeah.
to late 80s was when the Star Wars video games started coming out onto the scene. So
Yeah, so good for it. Congratulations for all 4 people getting in, just barely. Of course, they are. Oh, we got some more. We got some more
Yep.
coming in. All right, let's
Yep.
go ahead and look at the 15 seats here.
All right. We've already answered our question because we have an even older game, Jedi Arena, as our 15 seed for the Core Worlds coming out in 1983. We also have Super Bombad Racing from 2001 as our 15 seed in the mid rim. Then over here we've got Star Wars Demolition 2000 from 2000, our 15 seed in the outer rim, and another Star Wars Galaxies expansion in the inner rim, Rage of the Wookiees. So we got 2 Galaxies expansions coming out of the same quadrant of the bracket. I wonder if the committee is going to be putting all of the Galaxies games in the same bracket, just so maybe the best Galaxies win. We'll see.
Sounds like you could definitely do that.
Yeah,
that could definitely be the case there. Out of those 4, it's interesting to see an option from 1983, back before the big video game crash. Definitely. I hope they're not going to blame that game as being part of the crash. And, of course, it did come out right after the crash was happening. I mean, it probably just never got its chance to shine, but it is going to get its chance this year in the tournament at number 15. Brian, your thoughts?
I agree. That's going to be an interesting contender. I've actually played a decent amount of Star Wars Demolition myself. I do remember liking the soundtrack from that game a lot, in a vehicle combat game. But yeah, I'm interesting to see that it's only up to the 15 seed. That's got me on the edge of my seat for what else is coming.
One that doesn't surprise me is Bombad Racing. If you're saying the word Bombad, I'm hoping that's Gungans. And if it is, it can't be that popular. However, there is some Gungan love out there, and you never know. There may be someone who is Bombad excited about Bombad Racing. Did you ever play Bombad Racing, Dylan?
I did not know. I know it was a game, kind of a kiddie game for that came out in the early 2000s. I believe it was either PlayStation 2 or GameCube, around that generation. So not my cup of tea personally, but some people started playing video games when they were very early children. They might have some big nostalgia. So who knows? That might pull off an upset. Kind of hard for a 15 seed to upset, but remember from the last tournament, we did have a 15 seed that made it all the way to the Final Four. So you never know with this tournament.
Dylan, like a scratch and sniff book. I'm interested in finding out. All right. So there you have it, folks. Our first 2 rounds. 14 seeds coming in, Dylan?
14 seeds are in fact coming in. And what I said last round is already out, because we have another Star Wars Galaxies expansion coming out in the 4th seed. But this one, in the Core Worlds, Galaxies Jump to Lightspeed. We then have Clone Wars Jedi Alliance from 2008 in our mid-rim. Coming over here, we have Clone Wars Republic Heroes from 2009, our 14th seed there, and Lethal Alliance from 2006, our final 14th seed in the inner rim. So very interesting to see. The committee seems to think that the Galaxies expansions, at least, are kind of on the lower end, one being a 16, a 15, and a 14 seed. It's going to be interesting to see where they put the Galaxies, just the base game as a whole, if we're going to see it as the 12th seed or maybe even higher.
Brian, all these Galaxies expansions that are being added to the tournament, is this an act of desperation or respect?
On behalf of the committee? I think the committee recognizes that Galaxies was a very popular MMO and has its fair share of fans still out there, with, I believe, a still active community-based server for the game still being out there, private servers.
Yeah, it's on private servers because the original servers were shut down, but I do believe there are still private servers by fans that are still running to this day.
So there's a decent chance.
I had no idea about that. Were any of you a big Galaxies fan?
Unfortunately, I did not have the hardware to run the game at the time. I did try it briefly, but I enjoyed it while I could, and unfortunately, I just didn't have the right hardware for enough time to enjoy that.
Right. Right. Dylan, were you a Galaxy's aficionado?
I was not. Same issue. I did not have the hardware. But equally interesting is we have two Clone Wars games from the Dave Filoni Clone Wars era in the 14 seeds in Jedi Alliance and Republic Heroes. I am familiar a little bit with Republic Heroes. I played a demo of it, or a demo version of it that was available at like a mall. A mall GameStop at one time. It was an all right game. I'm not as familiar with Jedi Alliance.
I think I am. When you lose in Jedi Alliance, there's an image of Stinky the Hutt that appears and laughs at you at the end, just to show you how crappy the whole show was in general. But yeah, Dave Filoni, Clone Wars, hitting a number 14 seed. That doesn't surprise me. I know we're going to see, well, Clone War video games based off the Clone Wars, his Clone Wars. I'm sure we're going to see more games based off his Clone Wars, even though I don't know if any of them were played. So far, Brian, the ones we mentioned just here in the 14th round, are these any of them that you've played before?
Yes. Obviously, I have played as mentioned, the Star Wars Galaxies expansion. Jump to Lightspeed was one of them.
Oh, you did play that expansion, okay?
Briefly. Another one I did not have personal experience with, but knew many friends who did have experience with, was actually the one we haven't spoken about yet, the Lethal Alliance game, which I believe was PSP, was it? In 2006?
No, I think it was actually Xbox.
Was it Xbox? I just recall there being a lot of my friends that really enjoyed that one, so it wouldn't be surprising to see that one have a shot, depending on who it's up against.
Okay. Well, we'll just have to see. We'll have to wait and see what comes out next in our ratings here. Folks, we're just waiting to get word on the 13th seed here.
That's interesting. We've got more expansions coming on the 13th, but not Star Wars Galaxies expansions.
Are we ready to look and see?
We are.
Let's do it.
So first off, in the core worlds, we have another Clone Wars game, Lightsaber Duels from 2008. And then we have a Star Wars The Old Republic expansion, Rise of the Hutt Cartel, coming out of the Mid-Rim at our 13 seed there. And then another Star Wars The Old Republic expansion, Shadow of Revan, as a 13 seed, coming in the Outer Rim. And then Episode 1, Battle for Naboo from 2000 as our 13 seed in the Inner Rim.
I'm guessing that Battle of Naboo was like a big, like World of Warcraft. You just took and manufactured people to fight. Was that it? You trained people or built buildings and stuff like that? Not World of Warcraft, Age of Empires?
Age of Empires.
No, you're thinking of the Galactic
Battlegrounds.
Galactic Battlegrounds. You're correct. That was the one. So I'm sure we'll see that one later on. Okay, so some 13 seeds. Here's what we have. Old Republic, obviously a favorite, will be in the tournament. We'll probably see that later on. One seed, if not nothing else. But now, already, we're only in the 13th round. We're seeing expansions from the Old Republic here. Brian, is there any way that an expansion could beat the original?
Yes, I can think of several ways that could happen if they were to go face-to-face, though of the ones that we just saw, I'm kind of surprised to see Shadow of Revan already out there as a 13 seed. Obviously, Revan's done well wherever he's been represented in previous year tournaments, and for him to show up this day, I imagine there's going to be a few fans that actually just intentionally vote for that specific.
Correct. Revan's vehicle went a long way in the tournament, I believe, to the Final Four. And Revan himself, as a character, went all the way to the finals against Mara Jade before getting handily beaten down by him. But no, very interesting. I agree. I don't know if an expansion will beat. I don't know if people can make that separation between an expansion and original game. But of course, as you just well put, there are some people like, no, I love it because of this expansion. This is what I loved most about it. And that could be a deciding factor. Mm-hmm.
There are also some games that I can think of where I would just prefer to play the expansion, as the expansion just adds more content. And honestly sometimes just fixes the base game. It can be really hard to go back to the base game once you're used to all the quality of life improvements of an expansion. So that is one way I think an expansion can beat its original game. And I think are a couple games with expansions that we're going to see later in the tournament. But we are getting our 12 seeds now.
Oh, 12 seeds. Let's go ahead by all means. Who is in the 12th seed here?
So we got Force Commander for the core rules from 2000. We have Racer Arcade, another 2000. This was an arcade game, the Racer arcade game that you would just get in the pod and actually race around. So that's interesting that they're taking arcade games into this. Racer Revenge from 2002 and Star Wars Obi-Wan as our final 12 seed.
Interesting.
All right. Very interesting picks. I do want to highlight the fact that Dylan makes a good point. They're arcade games. Now, no one saw this coming. However, there are some great arcade games out there. Of course, everyone's thinking about the original Trilogy arcade games, which I myself even pumped a hefty quarter in. I remember they also came, if I'm correct on thinking it, in one of those big sit-down ones with the stick as you are flying the X-Wing or snow speeders. Or an A-wing in the battle. So some very impressive stuff. I mean, not impressive to today's arcade and video game standards, but back in the day, I believe it even vibrated even when you got hit, which was very interesting.
Yep.
Brian, were you ever a fan of the arcade games for Star Wars?
Oh, frequently. Those were my go-to whenever I went to any local arcades. If they had them available and the machine was open, I was there. It was a given. But also coming out of this round, interesting that we have Force Commander. That's actually another one of those games that I've played for PC, and I have a bit of a history on that game. But for those who don't know, it was a real-time strategy game, again on PC, and it had a very interesting soundtrack, often taking a lot of the original Trilogy music and mixing it up with some metal themes.
Interesting. Very interesting. All right, so that's our 13 seeds in there. It's anyone's guess on whether we'll see many arcade games pop up there. A big surprise there. But again, this video game tournament just shows you that anything and everything was considered. We're talking PC games, to actual classic video game standards, to the arcade game, handheld device games. I have a feeling we're going to see a few of those in there too, Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, we still haven't seen a couple that we mentioned, being Connect Star Wars and Star Wars Battle Above Coruscant. I would have hoped to have seen them at this point, but maybe us not seeing them at this point means that the committee thinks they're a little higher seeds than we originally thought. So we'll have to see. And actually, we do have our 11 seeds because we just released the 12 seeds. Now, here's the 11 seeds, and there's some interesting ones here. Oh man, we have another Star Wars: The Old Republic expansion in Knights of the Fallen Empire from 2015. We have this is an interesting one. Star Wars Bounty Hunter at number 11 seed from 2002. We have another Knights of the Old Republic expansion in Knights of the Eternal Throne. And finally, you were just talking about handheld games. Here's Battlefront Elite Squadron for the PSP.
Wow. Well, it doesn't surprise me after seeing arcade games, after seeing old console games. It was very simply put that it was inevitable we were going to see handheld games. Brian, I got to ask this question. Handheld games, did you play that many?
Oh, frequently. My family used to travel a lot, and if we were traveling on the road, I was in the back with whatever handheld game I could get. And of these, there's some really good ones here. All sorts of options that we've got coming along. The committee's really pulling from all over. I'm very surprised and somewhat impressed, actually, how deep this pool is already looking.
Oh, no, yeah. I agree. Like I said, a good hats off to the committee for picking this out because Lord knows I wouldn't have done it. Star Wars Bounty Hunter, ranked low or exactly where it should be, gentlemen?
I think this is a little low. Star Wars Bounty Hunter, I mean, it had a lot of good lore with Jango Fett, the Kamari Vosa, and Dooku's Apprentice, as well as the creation of the template for the Clone Army. So even how Jango Fett got his ship. So interesting to see with all that lore consideration of it being an 11 seed. I think it's a little low. I don't know how far it would have gone to the tournament, even if it got a higher ranking, but I'm surprised to see it as that low. But again, maybe it's just the competition up top. It's just so good that they it had to fall. Something had to fall, and it just happened to be Bounty Hunter.
Well, my money is on Connect Star Wars beating it. Obviously, this could be even up to a #1 seed. Who would not want to see a dancing Han Solo or Stormtrooper face off there? So I'm guessing other classics like that one just kind of slipped in and pushed a great game like Bounty Hunter down. Even though I personally did not play this. Brian, did you play Bounty Hunter?
Not a lot. It was actually a game that my siblings owned, so I didn't have access to it regularly. But yes, it was fun when I played it, and I know it has a very big following. So I do wonder how much of a fan vote it's going to get pushed behind it, just to spite the committee on that 11 seeding.
That's the case. I mean, hey, these seeds, you never know. Anyone can be upset in a tournament. We've seen this several times in previous tournaments. The wildest one being last year on vehicles. It just got too crazy. It got out of hand. Special counsel had to come in because there was cheating on the polls, and special ramifications have to be met. And it was just disaster. But everyone underestimated the frenzy of participation and the heated discussions of who would be number one, or who would be number one as it's all said and done. Oh, Dylan.
Yep, we got our 10 seeds.
Let's go ahead and bring them out.
So first up, we got Jedi Starfighter, number 10 seed in the Inner Rim from 2002. And then we have the Old Republic Onslaught. Again, more Old Republic expansions taking these early teens rankings. Galaxies and Empire Divided as our final 10 seed. Or it's our 10 seed there, so the Galaxy's main game there. And then Battlefront Renegade Squadron, another portable game for the PSP.
Wow. Okay, so things are definitely heating up, especially with more expansions there. Brian, your thoughts so far as we have hit over to round 10 here.
Right, and with round 10 having a Star Wars Knights of the Old Star Wars The Old Republic's Onslaught just concluded their actual expansion just prior to this video posting. So for it showing up in the 10 seed spot is kind of surprising. Obviously, the committee takes some sort of positive viewing on it being a more recent expansion, likely related to what Dylan was saying earlier, with more recent expansions tending to fix older bugs that exist in games.
Yeah, I mean, it's ranked higher than Knights of the Eternal Throne and Knights of the Fallen Empire, which I thought were pretty well-liked expansions as they came out. So interesting to see there. Another one that's a little bit more highly rated than another in its game is, I'm surprised to see Battlefront Renegade Squadron higher than Elite Squadron, as Elite Squadron had so many extra features that Renegade Squadron didn't have, and cool things like the fact you could go from the ground battle to the space battle on the same map. That was revolutionary for the Battlefront series and something we wouldn't get for a very, very long time until the newer stuff. But very surprised at the committee with these 10 and 11. I almost feel like the 10-11 seeds should be switched, but
almost, yeah. Very interesting. Well, perhaps the committee was after a bit of chaos with this seeding. I'm beginning to wonder about that.
Well, we're about to see what's left of the bottom half here as we go into round 9, or the 9 seeds, I should say. It's going to definitely be interesting to see who didn't make it into that upper crust, but is the top of the lower crust of this tournament. Dylan, do we have those numbers?
Yes, we do. And
let's go ahead and show them.
We have one that I know you're a big fan of, Matt, of the 9th seed from 1997, Masters of the Terras Kazi, up there in the Inner Rim. Then we have our first Rogue Squadron game, Rogue Squadron 3 Rebel Strike from 2003. And then, the Clone Wars from 2002 at our 9th seed. That was the vehicle combat game. Had a bit of lore to Ula Keldroma in that one. And then Rebel Assault from 1993 at our 9th seed. That's the first of that series as well. So a lot of series getting their first initial mentions here in the 9th seed. Again, that lower half, the top of the lower half of the tournament. So we'll see where it goes from there.
Very interesting.
There you go. Well, as you said, this is one of the Master of the Terras Key is one of the very few games I actually got to play. I did love it. It is basically Street Fighter, just done Star Wars style. I did like how Arden Lynn got a little bit of EU love in there, not as much as I would have loved. I would have loved to see her story or a comic book or something like, just a little bit more extra stuff on her. However, I believe the art of that fighting style has been mentioned in a few other short stories and books before. So we've seen that before. Other than that, I did love the game. I was not the best at it, just about average in that. Brian, did you play that one?
I've actually played 3 of these on this run. It's very interesting.
Which
I did
3 were
play
those
Terrace Kazi. I was not very good at it as well, which is ironic because I tend to do okay in fighting games. And I guess maybe just the pressure of playing as an expanded universe character was a bit much for me at the time. But I also did play the Clone Wars vehicle combat game, which that one always slips my mind for some reason. It was a very good game. From the vehicle combat, focusing on several different vehicles, to there was an arena mode, I believe, kind of a survival mode where you're playing as, I believe, Jedi in the arena on Geonosis and just trying to survive as long as you can. That was a lot of fun. And then also we had Rogue Squadron, the 3, Rebel Strike, which didn't quite reach the same levels as the original game, or possibly even the second game in my mind. But the third game was still quite good. So coming in at a 9 seed, I think that's fairly respectable for it.
Yeah.
A lot of very interesting picks here. And again, you're looking at these 9 seeds. The 9 seeds, technically speaking, are the ones that are most likely to pull off an upsets here. So we'll get the matchups real quick because the 8 seeds are coming in right now.
Let's go ahead. Let's get right to the 8 seeds.
Oh, yep, there they are. And actually, we already have an interesting matchup here as Rebel Assault for the Core Worlds 2, the Hidden Empire, takes the 8 seed there from 1995. So it'll actually face off against its predecessor, the original Rebel Assault, in the first round. That's a very interesting matchup there. We have Lego Star Wars 3, The Clone Wars, the final of the Legends Lego Star Wars series from 2011, the 8 seed. It'll face off against that Clone Wars vehicle combat game. I think the committee is saying something about these first matchups here, trying to get some drama there. Episode 1 Racer from 1999, 8 seed there, will be taking on Rebel Assault 3, Rebel Strike. And then we have, Star Wars Starfighter from 2001 taking on Masters of the Terrace Cosmos, the 9 seed there.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Wow. Yeah. So now we are finally getting to see some matches there. Brian, any thoughts?
Several thoughts. I'd say some of these 8 and 9 seed matchups are going to be close, so we'll obviously be going into our analysis at a later time. But of these, Rebel Assault 2 was one of my first video game experiences in the expanded universe. For it to go up against its predecessor is a very interesting one in my mind. If I recall correctly, Rebel Assault 2 is where the TIE Phantom starts showing up in the expanded universe, as it featured pretty prominently in that game's story.
Yeah, and again, the committee seems to, at least in some of these, favor the later games a little bit more higher than the early games. I think, again, I think it's mainly a case-by-case basis, but some games just, the sequels just have better UI, better features that are just better, and people remember them more over that nostalgia of the original.
It's interesting to see as we're counting this down, how more and more games are coming more familiar to just the general public. And I do think we're going to see, I truly do not know what is going on. This is all news to me as it's coming in. I do believe we're going to see some names that a lot of, lukewarm video game players would know. I think.
Right.
I think number 7 is when it starts building up and goes all the way to number 1. We're going to start seeing familiar names all the way through this. Go ahead.
Although Episode 1 Racer is a fan favorite showing up at the 8 seed, I think that has a chance of doing fairly decently depending on what it ends up matched up against down the line.
Was that just the Pod Racer?
Right.
On N64?
Was it 60? I can't remember which system it was for, but it did get a recent release again on a lot of the newer consoles.
I played that one. That one had the rubber band effect on it, meaning you couldn't blow someone out of the water. It was always close at the end. If it was the computer would slow down. If it was them, or vice versa. If it was the computer winning, it would slow down. If it was you, the others would speed up.
Yeah, I think the only problem for the 8-9 seed matchup is even when you get past that, you are going up against the 1 seed in the second round. And although we don't know exactly what the 1 seeds is, I think we
No,
all have a pretty good idea of what the 3 of the 4 1 seeds are going to be. And those are going to be incredibly tough outs. So these 8-9 seeds, even though these are interesting matchups, they have a very tough road ahead of them in this tournament. But we're actually getting our 7 seeds as well.
Let's do it. 7 seeds.
So first we got the Galactic Battlegrounds, the clone campaigns in our 7 seed there, which will be facing off against Battlefront Renegade Squadron. We also have Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader from 2001, our 7 seed, which will be facing off against Galaxies and Empire Divided. Over here, we have X-Wing versus TIE Fighter from 1997, which will be facing off against Jedi Starfighter, a battle of flight sims there. And then we have Lego Star Wars, the original trilogy, which will be facing off against Star Wars Onslaught.
Look out. Lego Star Wars is very popular with a younger crowd. That is who is voting nowadays. You think about this. These kids they're seniors in high school. The high schoolers are going to be big onto this. Even adults played that. So you're looking at something like Lego Star, especially the original trilogy, which is where they got a lot of their traction. Ooh, that's a good dark horse candidate. Brian, are there any others in there that you like?
Of these, I would say Galactic Battlegrounds, the Clone Campaigns expansion sticks out to me because that definitely expanded that game quite a bit. I do remember going out of my way at the time, riding my bike to a local Best Buy to pick that one up and thoroughly enjoyed it once I got it back home. So I do expect to see that one topple its opponent, but we'll again go into the face-offs later on down the road.
And just like the horn on my bike handle, I want to squeeze Dylan's behind. Dylan, any thoughts about the announcements for the 7 seeds?
The 7 seeds all seem to be interesting. Again, Clone Wars Galactic Battlegrounds clone campaigns, I actually think that one is better than, that's an expansion that's example of one that's better than the original, just adding a lot more playable factions in that game, a lot more of the UI fixes. Interesting to see that the committee seems to think that the original game is better, but I guess we'll know in the coming rounds how much better they think the original is to the expansion.
That is an interesting. I mean, we're going to see. Like you said, there'll be a time where we'll break down all 4 brackets and give our thoughts about each one. But yeah, as we're seeing it, you can't help but have these thoughts run through your mind. Dylan, do we have 6 seeds ready?
We do have 6 seeds ready, and starting off with another doozy here, Lego Star Wars, the video game from 2005, the original Lego Star Wars game, coming in our 6th seed, which will be facing off against Knights of the Fallen Empire. We then have Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith from 2005, which will be facing off against Bounty Hunter. That's going to be a really tough one there. We have The Force Unleashed 2 as a 6th seed, going up against Knights of the Eternal Throne there. And
there it is.
And finally, Galactic Battlegrounds, which will be going up against Battlefront Elite Squadron. So interesting. Both Galactic Battlegrounds seem to be going off against a PSP Battlefront game.
Very much.
This is definitely interesting. We're starting to see heavy hitters fall on this list, and from here on up, it's not going to be nothing but heavy hitters, I believe. Brian, your thoughts on the announcements so far?
Very interesting to see an episodic Star Wars game mentioned here. I guess the committee must have felt that it added enough expanded universe specific content that was not in the movie to be justified for our expanded universe madness tournament this year.
As we know, those video games did carry extra levels that we never saw mentioned or seen in the movies or anywhere else. I pretty much doubt in Super Return of the Jedi that Luke was running around a sand skimmer collecting coins. But it could have been in a chapter that, someone must have gotten rid of, and they found the floor and said, hey, this is a great idea. Let's turn it into a level. And who can forget the Super Star Wars New Hope scene where Luke is going through, blasting through Jawas in a sand crawler to get to the droids, which is probably what happened. We're a little unsure, but it may be of something since maybe they got captured again. I don't know, but he loves killing Jawas in that one. And then I remember there's the one in Super Empire Strikes Back actually I don't remember if there's anything extra, but there's probably something stupid in there.
But another very interesting one is Force Unleashed 2 as a 6th seed, because that's a bit of a head scratcher, because you're talking about a game where mechanic wise and gameplay wise is a lot better than its predecessor, but story wise is a lot weaker than its predecessor. So I guess It seems that the committee seems to favor story over gameplay, at least from this matchup. But we'll see what the voters think on that.
Well, they wouldn't do good for the story group if they're not focusing on, if they're focusing on story over gameplay. All right, so Dylan, do we have the 5 seeds?
So a bit of a delay on the 5 seeds possible.
We have the 5
like
seeds.
He's playing stare out.
Did they just come in?
No, there he is. He's back with us.
Nope, we're back. The 5 seeds were so incredible. It popped out my internet. Okay, we got the 5
I
seeds.
thought you were just in shock, and that's what I first thought. So
I am in shock at this first 5 seed we got.
Here we go.
Republic Commando from 2005 as a 5 seed going up against Star Wars Obi-Wan. We've got another heavy hitter in Lego Star Wars, the complete saga, going up against Racer Revenge there. And then we've got Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast from 2002 going up against Racer Arcade. And then Jedi Knight Mysteries of the Sith from 1998 going up against Force Commander.
All right.
Wow.
Surprised to see that last one so high, above all the other ones previously mentioned in the other 6 and 7 seeds especially. Brian?
Mysteries of the Sith does feel like it's a little higher than it should be, but maybe the committee was considering the 2 main characters of that game being Kyle Katarn and Mara Jade. Both pretty popular characters. It's also impressive to see some of these other names, such as Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, only falling in as a 5 seed. This has really got me excited to see what these 4 seeds and higher are going to be.
I mean, as predicted, we're going to be seeing, I think from here on out, starting with the 4 seeds, it's going to be nothing but heavy hitters. I mean, cleanup batters in every spot from here on out. And you could start getting into an argument when we get to our 2 seeds that they belong in the number 1 seed. You could start saying that for right now. This next upcoming 4 seed could be considered a number 1 seed. In fact, if you do see one in the 4 seeds that you think should be number 1, I encourage my co-host to speak out on it. I cannot believe, and I'm grateful that Connect Star Wars is going to be considered as one of those great games. There's only 8 more games to talk about here, or no, 16 more games to talk about here. Yeah, and I am just pleased as all get out that Connect Star Wars has garnered so much respect with the fans.
Yeah, and that's crazy to think about when you think of the community thinks that there are 16 games better than Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga or Republic Commando or Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast. It's just, I mean, what are these 16 games going to? And okay,
we got it.
We got the 4 seed. People are not going to be happy about this first one as a 4 seed.
Let's go.
Shadows of the Empire from 1996 as a 4 seed.
Wow.
X-Wing Alliance as a 4 seed there from 1999. The Old Republic MMO as a 4 seed. They're ranking the Old Republic a lot higher than its expansions. And Empire at War from 2006 is the other 4 seed.
Wow. Okay. Old Republic I thought would be a number 1 seed for sure. That one's a little shocking to me. What was that first one we talked about there? Oh, Shadows of the Empire. That's another one you're going to have a lot of people outraged, flipping tables. Wow. I do know that Geeks Addict is a big fan of Shadows of the Empire, the video game. It's right under. He said the only thing that could have beat it was a Crystal Star video game. Walru's Magical World.
Would have broken everything.
Yeah.
Would have broken everything.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely would have won it all if that was the case. Speaking of Walru, I believe he was one of the designers to Connect Star Wars. Now that I think about it, Star Wars Connect.
Yeah, that and Battle Above Coruscant, which again also isn't on this list. So
it's crazy that we haven't seen these yet. But I will say this: Shadows of the Empire is out of these 4 here. Well, Old Republic too. Both of those could run away with this tournament and win it all. Right now, we're looking at potential candidates who can win it all. Remember, Outrider won the vehicles tournament, landslide victory. It could carry Shadows of the Empire all the way to the Final 4, and who knows how long. Brian, any other thoughts?
And I would say Dylan might have been onto something with the committee weighing the story of these games a little bit more heavily than their gameplay values, as the Old Republic's base game was definitely known for its story ahead of its actual gameplay. And for it to be ahead of, so far at least, all of its expansions tells us a lot, I think.
Yeah, it does. Dylan? Uh-oh. Oh, I think the third seeds are coming in. Third seeds are here. Oh.
You've got to be kidding me.
Let's listen.
There's no way. There's no way this is correct. Okay. We've got the original Star Wars Battlefront as our third seed for the core worlds. Star Wars Empire at War Forces of Corruption as our third seed there, ranking it higher than the original game. Wow. Dark Forces are from 1995 as our third seed in the Outer Rim, and then X-Wing from 1993. All of these could have.
Yeah,
these are some big.
Those last two you mentioned, those could win the tournament. That's how big those games are to people. I mean, you're talking. I mean, X-Wing, get out of here. Get out of here.
First or second seed at least. What is?
I will say this though: if we have an older crowd voting, X-Wing and Dark Forces could win it all.
I mean, Kyle Katarn's first outing.
Generation of votes that are coming in who never played those games. Dark Forces, I think they tip their hat to. But either way, if you're looking at someone who's about around our age, those are dark horse picks to win it all, hands down. Brian.
Yeah, and Battlefront, the original Battlefront from 2004 is no slouch either. Nor is the compatriot over in the Midrim, I believe, was the Forces of Corruption expansion to Empire at War, a pretty popular expansion to a very popular PC game.
And that's also a very dangerous matchup because Empire at War has a absolutely incredible modding community. A lot of people don't even play the vanilla games. They play some of the mods, and Forces of Corruption is what allows them to do that. So it'll be very interesting to see if voters can take third-party mods into the equation of what they think is a good video game. So that's going to be that has a potential of being an incredibly tough out for that reason.
Oh man! So now we're going to be hearing people scream at their screen here because as the number 2 seeds come in, I do predict there'll be a ton of outrage of why most, if not all, of those seeds are not a number 1.
Well, again, I think we know 3 of the 4 1 seeds, but it's that 4th 1 seed that's kind of the question mark. And I think all these games in these last the 3 and the 4 seeds could have taken that 4th spot, 1 seed spot. So
I'm feeling bold enough to predict that Connect Star Wars is one of those number 1 seeds. I've had this feeling. I didn't want to jinx them. They could be here in the number 2 seed. I guess I'd be happy with that, but I have a feeling.
Well, we have our 2 seeds. And it's not Connect Star Wars.
Let's go with the 2 seeds. Onward.
We've got Jedi Academy from 2003 as our 2 seed in the core worlds. We've got the Force Unleashed, the original game, as our 2 seed in the mid-rim. We've got TIE Fighter from 1994 as our 2 seed in the Outer Rim. And Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2 as our 2 seed. Interesting that they put Dark Forces 2, Jedi Knight, higher than the original there.
No love for the OG. Again, 4 incredibly popular video games. Brian, out of all 4 of those, what did you spend the most time playing?
That is a tough call, but probably TIE Fighter due to the lengthy campaign it had. It was an amazing game, and it's definitely on one of my favorites lists, so I'm not surprised to see it ranked high. But I would not also be surprised to see any of these end up in the final matchup.
I think so. I think what you're going to see here is a lot of people just saying, well, they just picked my game. I'm done listening and stop the video here. I mean, it could be that because they don't even care what the number 1 seed is because they have their number 1 candidate. It could happen. Folks, we only have 4 games left to announce. And because of my lack of video games, I have no idea. I may have a few ideas. But I will tell you this. Congratulations to all the teams that got in. Our number 1 seeds for each division. Dylan?
We got them. And again, 3 of these are not surprising at all. I think everyone could have called this when we first started. First number 1 seed, Knights of the Old Republic 2 from 2005. Second number 1 seed, Knights of the Old Republic from 2003. Interesting that they have both of the KOTOR games on the same side of the bracket, which means that they must face each other before they make it to the finals. I think a lot of people are going to be, those are pretty heavy favors to go all the way. So it'll be interesting to see which of them comes out on top there. Then is the other 1 seed that we obviously won, Battlefront 2 from 2005. And here's the last 1 seed, the one that I think a lot of people had a question of, what was going to be that final 1 seed? And it is Rogue Squadron from 1998. No Kinect Star Wars on this list. No Battle Above Coruscant on this list. I wonder what the committee was thinking there.
Well, obviously they weren't thinking. I'm kind of disappointed in them. It is no surprise to see the Knights of Old Republic 1 and 2. I also thought they would be number 1 seeds. I am a little surprised to see the original Rogue Squadron game, even though I will be honest, it is by far my number 1 favorite game. I spent out of any of the video games here, I only played like a handful of them, but I did see a ton of great levels when it came to the original X-Wing Rogue Squadron for N64. I love that game with all my heart and soul. Brian, any thoughts on the final 4 here of 1 seeds?
When it comes to hours played, I could not tell you which one has the most of my time because I have played all of these a lot. They are all excellent games in their own right. They likely deserve their 1 seeding. Although with those 2 seeds, it's hard to say which one deserved that last 4 spot.
And the 3 and the 4 seeds.
Yes, it's pretty crazy. I too had a lot of fun with Rogue Squadron. I probably have played more Battlefront 2 than the other games just because that's a very repeatable game. But then again, you can't discount either of the Knights of the Old Republic games. And yes, very interesting. The committee decided to try and force a matchup, assuming they make it that far, all the way in the final 4. Only one of those might advance.
Yeah, I think KOTOR is going to be a heavy favorite, especially with the remakes coming up, which we don't really know that much about. But I believe it also is getting a Switch port coming up here pretty quick as well. So all that may influence more people voting for KOTOR. Like I said, these are going to be tough outs, but really, I mean, you can even go back to the 5th seed and say these games have a shot at making it all the way. You just never know. Like I said, last year, we had a 15 seed that made it all the way to the final 4.
Yeah.
I mean, who had that at the beginning of the tournament?
All right. Well, there you have it. Dylan, give them their instructions one more time. What do they have to look forward to for the rest of this week?
Well, for this week, tournament's not really good.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, just to preempt. Obviously, on Tuesday, I said the bracket would be available for them to download, fill out on their own, but then go ahead.
Yeah, so Tuesday we'll have this bracket available so you guys can fill out. We're going to be doing things a little bit different this year. Matt is going to be away for most of this because he's got he's got a couple of big things coming up. So
yeah,
it's mainly going to be Brian and myself and maybe a few others, either Twin Sons or other guests. Like we'll see. But because we're also fairly busy, we're going to be doing this somewhat weekly. You're still going to get videos every day on the site. So we'll do a breakdown this coming Tuesday on the 1st of the I believe it'll be the core worlds, then Wednesday the mid rim, Thursday the inner rim, for Friday the outer rim, and then we'll have voting from Friday to the end of Saturday. And that's how it'll be for the first 2 weeks. You'll be voting for all of the first round at the same time. Then you'll be voting for all the second round at the first time. And then we'll reveal the results from the votes over the course of Monday through Thursday, 1 quadrant at a time. That's how it'll be until we get to the Sweet 16. And then things will wrap up. We'll do the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 kind of the same way, but at least over the course of the 3rd week of March, and then the final week of March, we'll have the Final 4 and the championship.
Yeah, agreed. It's going to be an action-packed week and an action-packed tournament, folks. Tell your friends, tell your brother, tell your grandmother. She may even know what you're talking about, but tell her anyway. This is going to be big, and I mean with a capital B. I want to thank Twin Sons Foundation for being the official sponsor of the tournament, folks. Again, go to their website, check them out. Definitely a good. Well, the best that an EU fan can be is be a part of Twin Suns and helping out in any way, shape, fashion, or form. Brian, thank you so much for joining us. Dylan, always a pleasure.
This is looking like it's going to be a great tournament this year. Let the madness descend.
To quote from the movies, it